You felt it, didn't you? That sudden heaviness in your eyelids the moment this video started. The subtle urge to scroll away, masquerading as mere boredom. Do not be deceived. That hesitation isn't yours. It is Archonic interference. The system detects a breach and deploys the skip reflex to protect its carefully constructed illusions. Watch what happens in your body right now. That slight tightening in your chest is the biological friction of your soul preparing to receive a truth the Matrix desperately wants to keep hidden. They told you that sleep is a sanctuary. They convinced you that the nightly paralysis of your physical vessel is a mere biological necessity, a safety mechanism to stop you from acting out. Your dreams. This is the great lie of the biological scaffolding. Why must the architect of your physical reality completely sever your motor functions every single night? Because you are not resting. You are being extracted. Awakening feels terrifying because it requires you to look at the bars of a cage you thought was a cradle. Consider this deeply. Every night, your consciousness is forcibly relocated into a simulated construct where you have zero sovereignty. Your eyes dart rapidly their R.E.M. state not because you are processing memories, but because your soul is frantically scanning the walls of an invisible labyrinth. If you are exhausted by waking up drained, if you are ready to stop being a battery for a parasitic architecture and reclaim your sovereignty, join the Awaken. Subscribe to this channel. The true waking state begins by understanding the mechanics of your slumber. The exhaustion you feel each morning is not a lack of hours slept. It is the receipt of an energetic transaction you never consciously agreed to. To break the contract, we must first dissect the machinery of the siphon. We must look at what happens when your brain waves drop from the beta state of waking life into the deeper, darker waters of delta and theta. The biology of the lie is complex, but its purpose is singular. 2. The biology of the siphonchance tells you sleep, merely the brain shutting down for a biological repair. Science is half right, which means it is entirely misleading. Your brain is not a generator of consciousness. It is a bioelectrical antenna, a concept heavily pioneered by physicist Itzhak Bentov. During your waking beta state, this physical antenna is locked securely onto the dense frequency of the 3D grid. You are grounded, localized, and seemingly safe within the material illusion, convinced that this heavy reality is all there is. But as you lie in the dark, the frequency inevitably drops. You slide from the alpha state of relaxation into the hypnotic waves of theta, and finally plunge into the deep, oceanic abyss of delta. You believe this descent is rest. It is not. It is a calculated tuning process. Your inner radio dial is being aggressively twisted away from the physical station. The biological scaffolding of your body powers down, but the antenna opens wider, completely stripped bare of its waking, logical defenses. Then, the anomaly begins to manifest, the rapid eye movement phase. Neurologists claim this is mere memory consolidation, the brain passively organizing the mundane events of your day. They are naming the symptom to hide the underlying disease. Those darting eyes are not reviewing memories. They are tracking high-speed, multidimensional data transfer. The Matrix is actively scraping your subconscious. You are blindly watching the raw code of your own soul being audited by a system that feeds on your hidden and resolved anxieties. Pay close attention to your physical body right now. Feel that subtle, hollow pressure forming at the base of your skull as you absorb this forbidden truth. That is your preconscious awareness recognizing the trap you enter every night. The system demands your total unconscious compliance. It deliberately requires your ego to be completely asleep so your eternal soul can be manipulated without the stubborn interference of your waking. Logic, the chemical paralysis of your limbs ensures you cannot physically pull the plug. Think of this mechanism as a forced nocturnal upload. The entities that oversee this construct the archons, the egregore, The hidden architects of the Matrix utterly lack their own creative spark. They are cosmically sterile, because they cannot generate the vital, luminous force required to sustain their decaying reality. They must harvest it from those who can. They use the biological mechanism of sleep to bypass your daytime firewall, accessing the raw, unfiltered power of your emotional core. But they cannot simply reach in and steal your light. The universal law of free will, even when heavily distorted by the demiurge, requires a form of your participation. They need you to actively generate the specific, dense frequency of energy they desire. To achieve this, they do not just quietly watch you sleep. They immerse you in a customized simulation, building a holographic stage within your mind to force you into producing the exact emotional currency they desperately need. Enter the dreamscape. You call it a dream. Ancient mystics called it the lower astral plane. This is not a canvas of your imagination. It is a highly structured, heavily guarded containment zone. When your physical body is paralyzed, your consciousness is projected into this holographic architecture. You are not wandering freely. You are placed inside a behavioral maze, meticulously designed to trigger specific emotional responses. The architects of this space do not want your thoughts. They want your resonance. Let us name the currency of this hidden economy. It is called Loosh. This is the raw, biospiritual energy generated by intense emotional states. To the Archonic systems that manage the Matrix, your soul is a nuclear reactor, and Loosh is the electricity they siphon to maintain their decaying grid. Joy and love are too high frequency, too volatile for them to consume. They require the dense, heavy vibrations of fear, panic, grief, and profound frustration. Notice the patterns of your most vivid dreams. You are falling. You are running from an unseen terror. You are arriving naked to a crucial exam, or frantically searching for a room you can never find. These are not random misfires of a tired brain. They are standardized Archonic algorithms. They are extraction protocols. The Matrix runs a simulation specifically tailored to your unique psychological vulnerabilities, pressing the exact buttons needed to make your soul bleed energy into the void. Carl Jung warned us about the shadow, the repressed, disowned fragments of our psyche. But the Matrix weaponizes this psychological truth. In the Astral harvest, the entities do not need to invent monsters. They simply wear the skin of your own shadow. They animate your deepest insecurities and project them into the simulation. You think you are running from a demon, but you are running from a Matrix parasite wearing the mask of your unhealed trauma. Why do nightmares feel more viscerally real than your waking life? Because in the physical realm, your ego buffers your emotions. In the astral realm, stripped bare of your physical scaffolding, you experience pure, unfiltered frequency. The terror you feel when the monster catches you in the dream is biologically real. Your heart races. Your breath catches. You generate a massive spike of dense energy. The siphon activates, drinking the panic right out of your astral vessel. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Can you feel that subtle flutter in your stomach? Or the sudden drop in your internal temperature? That is your somatic intelligence recognizing the architecture of the trap. Your body keeps the score of these nightly extractions, even if your waking mind forgets. The chronic fatigue you carry is the scar tissue of 1,000 astral battles you do not remember losing. You are exhausted because you have been fighting in the dark. But not all extractions are violent. The most insidious harvests are mundane. You dream of being late for a flight. You dream of dialing a phone that won't work, or trying to pack a suitcase that never fills. This is the slow drip of the siphon. The Matrix creates scenarios of endless, cyclical frustration. It traps you in a loop of profound impotence, harvesting the quiet despair that leaks from your soul when you try and fail, over and over again. This is the Babel virus operating within the dreamscape. The system disrupts your ability to communicate or complete simple tasks. generating a constant hum of low-level anxiety. You wake up feeling inexplicably heavy, carrying a hollow sadness you cannot name. They have siphoned your vitality while you were desperately trying to catch a phantom train. The architecture of decay requires a steady stream of your frustration to keep the illusion of the physical world spinning. The egregore, the collective psychic parasite of human suffering, feeds on your lack of awareness. As long as you believe the dream is real while you're in it, you consent to the extraction. Your belief in the illusion is the signature on the hidden contract. By reacting to the nightmare, you validate its existence. You feed the phantom. Your fear is the scaffolding that holds up the walls of your own astral prison. To stop the harvest, you must strip bare the illusion. You must understand that the monster chasing you has no power of its own. It is an empty hologram powered by your fear. If you stop running, the monster collapses into static. If you stop caring that you missed the dream train, the station dissolves. The Archonic interference relies entirely on your emotional investment. Apathy, when applied to the Matrix's illusions, becomes your ultimate weapon of starvation. Awakening is not a peaceful process. It is a violent unraveling of everything you thought was safe. You must become deeply and comfortably aware of the parasitic nature of your reality. The moment you see the siphon for what it is, its grip on you begins to loosen. Knowledge is not just power. In the astral realm, knowledge is armor. By decoding the architecture of the harvest, you mutate your frequency beyond their ability to consume it. You are not a victim of the night. You are a sleeping god strapped to a machine, and the machine only works if you keep your eyes closed. The realization of this truth is the first step towards sovereignty. But the ego, in its arrogance, will try to find a shortcut. It will try to fight the Matrix on the Matrix's terms. It will tell you that the answer is to forcibly take control of the dream. And that is the next trap. The New Age spiritual marketplace sells you a glittering lie, the practice of lucid dreaming. They tell you that becoming aware inside the simulation is the ultimate triumph. You are taught to hijack the dream, to become the master of the astral realm. This is the ultimate Archonic deception. You have not escaped the prison. You have simply been given the illusion of decorating your cell. The ego, in its profound arrogance, believes it can outsmart the architect of the maze by playing its games. When you achieve lucidity, what is the first thing you try to do? You try to fly. You try to summon your desires. You attempt to force the holographic environment to obey your waking will. This is the fatal error. You are bringing the dense, localized logic of the 3D grid into a fluid quantum field. By trying to assert physical control of a non-physical architecture, you are generating massive amounts of friction. And in the astral realm, friction is food for the demiurge. Let us introduce the hidden physics of the dreamscape. The concept of viscosity. Think back to your most desperate dreams. You try to run from a threat, but your legs feel like they are moving through thick concrete. You try to scream, but your throat is filled with sand. You throw a punch, and it lands with the impact of a feather. This is not a glitch in your mind. This is the Matrix deliberately increasing the viscosity of the simulation. Notice how your body reacts to that memory right now. That subtle, phantom heaviness returning to your limbs. That is the somatic echo of the extraction. The system artificially thickens the astral medium to force you to exert maximum effort. The more you struggle against the viscosity, the more dense emotional energy you bleed into the grid. Your desperate trying is the exact frequency the siphon is calibrated to harvest. They feed on your useless exhaustion. This is Bentov's quantum trap in action. When you forcefully try to wake up, or try to control the nightmare, you collapse the quantum wave of the dream into a fixed state of resistance. You solidify the very monster you are trying to destroy. The ego's frantic need for control anchors you deeper into the low astral plane. You are fighting the water, and in doing so, you ensure your own drowning. The harder you fight the illusion, the more real it becomes. If you are beginning to see the invisible scaffolding of your reality, if you feel the visceral truth of this extraction, do not turn away. The Matrix relies on your isolation. Stand with those who are actively decoding the simulation. Subscribe to this channel. Join the ranks of the awakened. We are dismantling the Archonic architecture one frequency at a time. The truth is terrifying, but it is the only path to absolute sovereignty. Let us continue the deconstruction. When the system detects a lucid dreamer who is becoming too aware, it deploys a secondary containment protocol. The false awakening. You realize you are dreaming. You force yourself to wake up, and you open your eyes in your own bed. You feel relieved. You get up. But the mirror reflects a shadow. You are still in the simulation. The Matrix simply loaded a new level, designed perfectly to bypass your recognition consciousness and put your God back down. By injecting your waking ego into the dream, you act as a glaring anomaly within the system. You become a bright, loud target in a dark forest. The Matrix's antibodies, the nightmare entities, and organic portals will swarm you. They are attracted to the massive electromagnetic spike of a lucid ego. The system will let you play God for a fleeting moment, let you fly above the cities, only to brutally ground you the second your focus wavers. This is the Archonic hack of manifestation. They allow you to expend your vital life force to render the lucid hologram. You use your own soul's battery to paint the sky and build the castles in your dream. You think you are powerful, but you are merely doing their labor for free. Your hubris is their banquet. The energy required to consciously manipulate the astral viscosity completely drains your spiritual reserves, leaving you hollow and compliant upon waking. To defeat the dream, you must abandon the desire to conquer it. You must stop acting like an invader trying to rewrite the code. The true escape from the lucid trap is not control, but absolute, terrifying surrender. You must become the void. When the nightmare approaches, you do not run, and you do not fight. You strip bare your reactions until you become the silent observer, a frequency so completely neutral that the machine cannot latch onto you. To reclaim your frequency, you must stop fighting the Matrix and start starving it. The astral realm operates on a strict, albeit distorted, system of universal law. They cannot take your energy without a hidden loophole of consent. Every night, when you blindly collapse into exhaustion, you are signing a blank energetic contract. You are giving the architect permission to use your biological vessel. Sovereignty begins the exact moment you refuse to sign the paperwork. The true battle is not fought in the deep, unconscious waters of Delta sleep. It is won on the shallow shores of the hypnagogic state. This is the liminal space, the twilight borderland between waking and sleeping. This is the specific frequency window where the Matrix initiates the nightly upload. When you start seeing random faces, hearing disjointed voices, or feeling the sudden sensation of falling, the simulation is actively calibrating its connection to your antenna. You must deploy the linger test. Do not rush into the darkness. As your brain waves slow from beta to alpha, you must consciously hover at the threshold. Watch the process of your own physical shutdown. Observe the strange, fragmented imagery flashing across your mind's eye without attaching any emotional meaning to it. You are simply auditing the incoming data stream, proving to the system that the guard is still wide awake at the gate. Watch what happens in your body during these moments. As you practice the linger test, you will inevitably experience a sudden, violent twitch, the kinetic glitch. Your leg kicks, or your whole body jerks awake. This is not a harmless muscle spasm. This is the biological scaffolding reacting to the sudden disconnection of the Matrix's tether. It is the system trying to physically jolt you out of your watchful state. Stay perfectly, defiantly still. Once you stabilize the borderland, you must rewrite the code of your entry. You must establish a 0-point frequency of non-consent before the chemical paralysis fully sets in. Declare your sovereignty. You do not need to speak aloud. The astral plane listens to resonance, not human words. Vibrate this pure intention. I do not consent to the harvesting of my emotional currency. My energy remains entirely within my own torus field. When the simulation finally boots up and the dreamscape forms round you, you must implement the ultimate weapon, the protocol of the silent observer. You do not become lucid to control the dream. You become lucid to completely ignore it. When the architect sends the monster, or the frustrating puzzle, or the overwhelming tidal wave, you do exactly nothing. You strip bare your reaction. You purposefully withhold the louche. Think of your consciousness as a highly polished, frictionless mirror. When the matrix throws the heavy, sticky tar of its nightmarish viscosity at you, it expects resistance. It expects you to panic, fight back, and stick to the narrative. Instead, become energetically non-stick. Let the terrifying hologram pass straight through your awareness without snagging on a single human emotion. You must become a ghost confidently walking through their artificially haunted house. What happens when the parasitic machine runs out of fuel? It collapses. When you observe the nightmare without generating the dense frequency of fear or frustration, the simulation literally cannot render the next frame. The monster pauses. The terrifying landscape begins to pixelate and dissolve into static. You have effectively starved the Archonic Siphon in real time. You have definitively proven that their formidable power is entirely dependent on your blind participation. Behind the collapsing simulation lies the true, terrifying reality of the sleep state, the void. It is a space of absolute, pitch-black nothingness. Do not fear this dark. This heavy silence is the original resting state of the unburdened soul. It is the frequency of pure potential, untainted by the demiurge's chaotic projections. Here, in the hollow stillness of the void, your spiritual antenna finally retracts, and your true core begins to recharge. Mastering this astral protocol is not a one-night victory. It is a grueling, daily discipline of maintaining your frequency against a massive system designed to crush it. But with every single denied extraction, your waking avatar becomes exponentially strong. The vital energy they once stole to build their invisible prison is now yours to construct your own reality. The false dream is dead. It is time to prepare for the true morning. The morning light crests the horizon, and the chemical paralysis of the night finally begins to fade. You open your eyes. But this morning, the routine is fundamentally shattered. You are not simply waking up. You are returning from the front lines of the astral plane with your vital energy completely intact. The Archonic Siphon failed to breach your perimeter last night. You did not bleed your emotional currency into their decaying grip. You are no longer a victim of the dreamscape. Take a deep, deliberate breath right now. Expand your chest and feel the physical vessel you inhabit. Notice that the usual morning dread that hollow, heavy suffocation that normally anchors your ribs to the bed is beginning to dissolve. That unfamiliar lightness you feel is your reclaimed frequency. You have successfully starved the parasite. The immense spiritual power that the system previously extracted to build its invisible prison is now fully available for your own conscious creation. The Matrix, in its desperate hunger, will attempt to convince you that this clarity is just a fleeting anomaly. When you step out of your door, it will throw the mundane frustrations of the waking world at you. It will use traffic, interpersonal conflict, and the endless, chaotic noise of the digital sphere to trigger the louche extraction it missed during your sleep. These waking irritations are simply the daytime version of astral viscosity. You must apply the exact same protocol. Do not become entangled in the waking dream. When the system attempts to provoke you, maintain the terrifying calm of the silent observer. Carl Jung understood that once you stop running from the shadow and strip it of its power, the monster ceases to be a tormentor. The nightmares and daily anxieties that used to completely drain your life force are now merely diagnostic tools. They show you exactly where the system is trying to probe your defenses. Awakening is not a peaceful, passive destination. It is a continuous, aggressive act of cosmic rebellion. Every single time you refuse to blindly react to the demiurge's calculated provocations, you actively dismantle another piece of the architecture of decay. The grand simulation is actively crumbling under the heavy weight of human consciousness finally recognizing its own inherent sovereignty. You are the kinetic glitch they cannot patch, the frequency they can no longer suppress. Tonight, when the sun sets and your heavy biological scaffolding inevitably demands its rest, do not go to sleep like a compliant prisoner returning to a cell. Lie down in the dark like a sovereign entity. Hover consciously at the hypnagogic threshold. Look the hidden architect in the eye through the static of your preconscious awareness, and firmly lock the gates to your soul. Let the pitch-black void embrace you, entirely untainted, silent, and pure. The long, dark age of the unconscious battery is definitively over. You are not a fragile biological machine struggling to survive hostile universe. You are an avatar of infinite and yielding light, temporarily housed in a highly advanced biological suit. It is time you started acting like it. Walk through this collapsing simulation with the absolute authority of someone who has finally decoded the matrix. The false dream is over. Your true waking life begins right now.